Hello guys, and welcome back to my channel. So in today's video I'll be showing you guys how I make buttonholes for my clothing. So if you're interested, please keep on watching. So for this tutorial I'll be making use of this my electric domestic butterfly machine, the JH8190S. And for clarity, this is what the buttonhole foot of this my machine actually looks like. So I've gone ahead to thread my machine with a bright color thread, that is red, so my stitches are visible. And I'll be making use of this white interfacing to create the buttonholes. So I'll be creating buttonholes for these three buttons right here. As you can see, they're of different sizes. This is the small one, the medium sized one, and the biggest one. For visibility, I'll be making use of my pen to mark out the lines for each buttonhole. So first I need to measure the size of each of my buttons. So starting with the small one, I'll go ahead and measure the size. So I just placed number 1 right there, and what I have is 3/8 of an inch. So starting from number 1, the fourth line is 3/8 of an inch. If you don't know how to read a tape measure, I have a video for you, so you can check it out. The link to the video will be in the description box. So I will add 0.25 inch extra to this measurement, and that will be 5/8 of an inch. So this is so that there will be ease for the button to pass through. So 5/8 of an inch is what I'll be marking on my interfacing. So I just marked out the length of my buttonhole with 2 dashed lines and connected it with a straight line. So this is how the button will be on the buttonhole. So next I would measure the medium sized button, starting with number 1. So what I have for this button is 1/2 inch, as you can see. So I would also add 0.25 inch to this measurement for ease, and that will be 0.75 inch, also known as 3/4 of an inch. So like I did for the first one, marked out the length with 2 dashed lines and connected it with a straight line. So this is how the button will be on the buttonhole. So for the third one is literally the same thing. I'll measure the length of the button, and what I have is 3/4 of an inch, also known as 0.75 inch. Then I'll add 0.25 inch ease to that measurement, and that makes it a total of 1 inch. So the length of the biggest buttonhole will be 1 inch. And I just connected the lines together. And so this is how the buttons will be on the buttonhole. To create the buttonholes, I would need to change the straight stitch of my sewing machine to that of the buttonhole stitch. So I'll just turn the knob, and I have the first buttonhole stitch there and the second one followed by the third one. So I'll just zoom in a bit so we can see. So this right here is number 3, and number 3 is used to sew the left hand side of the buttonhole, starting from the lower part all the way to the upper part. So the next stitch I have, you can see number 4 right there, and there is number 2. So number 2 is used for sewing the lower part of the buttonhole, while number 4 is for the upper part of the buttonhole. So I'll switch it to number 1. So as you can see, number 1 is used to sew the right hand side of the buttonhole from the top down to the bottom. So next I would need to replace this my regular straight stitch foot to that of the buttonhole. So I'll take it out, and I would insert this iron part or this metal part of my buttonhole foot right under the machine like this, so that it picks it up. So I'll make sure that my thread is tucked under the buttonhole foot, and then I would place the largest buttonhole mark right under the buttonhole foot, making sure that the start point of the buttonhole is right under the start point of the buttonhole foot like this. To begin sewing the buttonhole, I would start with number 1, which is to sew the right hand side of the buttonhole. After that, I would need to insert my needle right at the start point of the buttonhole mark, and I'll begin sewing. So when I get to the lower part, I would need to change the buttonhole stitch to number 2, which is to sew the lower part of the buttonhole. After that, I would sew again, and when I'm done with number 2, I would turn the stitch to number 3 to sew the left hand side upwards like this. When I get to the upper part, I will switch the stitch to number 4. As you can see, number 4 is to sew the upper part of the buttonhole. And after that, I am done. All I just need to do is to cut out my thread. So after sewing, this is what the buttonhole looks like. And with my seam ripper, I would create the hole right at the center of the buttonhole, and the hole is so that the button can pass through. So while doing this, just be careful so you don't cut through your buttonhole. So this is what the opening looks like, and this is what the back of the buttonhole looks like. So next, I would need to insert the button through the buttonhole. So from the back, I would insert it like this, and because of the ease allowance of 0.25 inch, the buttonhole passes freely. So next, it's time to make the second buttonhole, and I'm starting with number 1 again, and I would place it like this and begin sewing. So at the lower part, I will switch to number 2. After sewing number 2, I will switch to number 3 and sew. Then switch back to number 4 and sew. Then again, I would use my seam ripper to create a hole right at the center, and then at the back, I would insert the medium-sized button inside the buttonhole, and this is what I have. So for the smallest buttonhole, I'll repeat exactly the same thing. So after sewing the buttonhole for the first time, I decided to go again for a second round to make it more thicker. So I trimmed off the excess thread after I was done, and this is what the buttonhole looks like. So with my seam ripper, I'm just going ahead to create a hole through the center of the buttonhole, and then I'll insert the button through the buttonhole like this, and you can see there's ease of movement for the button. So guys, this is what the buttonhole looks like at the end of the day, and this is all you need to do in order to make your buttonholes for your buttons. So guys, if you like this video, don't forget to hit the like button, turn on post notifications so you get alerted whenever I post new videos, and please subscribe to the channel, and I will see you all in my next video.